Yeah, what's going on, people? Welcome. I'm your host, JD Dyer, as we get ourselves rated for a long-awaited, long-anticipated press conference as we get to know today who the 5v5 fighters will be representing both Queensbury and Matchroom. I know, it feels like it's been decades in the making, it's because it has been. And I know you couple that alongside, of course, what else we got to anticipate and look forward to, crowning the king of the 175 division. There'll be so many guests joining us on the broadcast today. But we're going to start off with someone that I know is a good friend of mine, right? When we talk about the big guns, I have to bring in Carl Frampton. Carl, look, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. I remember when His Excellency spoke about shaking up the boxing landscape. Yeah. Did you ever think you would sit in a room where Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are about to do a co-promotion and put their best five fighters up against each other?
Honestly, no. But it's great for our sport. I think boxing's in a really healthy position at the minute. I mean, if you can get two of, in my opinion, the world's best promoters, they are number one and number two, I think, right now anyway, to work together. Then we're going to, hopefully he can maybe try and persuade Top Rank and Al Heyman and Golden Boy and everybody else. But this is what we need. This is how the best fights get made when promoters are working together. And I think this is absolutely massive for boxing.
Sensational. When you think about the changes, and I want to allude to His Excellency first, because he talked about shaking it up, he talked about doing all of these things. You know how long-winded this rivalry has been, this beef has been between Frank and Eddie. What are they thinking right now? I know they're both competitors. Speaking to both of them, they're both a little bit excited. But what are they feeling right now in terms of nerves?
I'm not sure. Look, they'll both want to win, and obviously they're men that's full of pride. I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult. Like, obviously, we know, me and you know, who the fighters are, who the 5 are, but obviously we can't talk about that yet. But both guys, they'll want to whitewash each other. Of course they will, and they'll get one up in the other.
It's been the hardest thing in the world, kind of keeping that to ourselves, especially within the boxing community, not wanting to turn around and talk about the names that will be listed. This is the place in the stream to turn around and see the draw live. We will be going straight over to the stage that's just behind us, so you can see all of the fighters as they get revealed, and you can weigh up for yourselves. So make sure you're involved in the comments, the questions, everything else in between. But I'm going to come back to you, Carl, because I think about this journey, man, and I genuinely don't want it to be underplayed or downplayed. At one point, I remember Eddie Hearn alluding to the fact that he'd never even had a conversation with Frank. And now you're talking about a cross-promotion in Saudi Arabia, 1st of June. All of the eyes will be watching naturally because of the Undisputed fight, which we'll get onto in a second. But I want to know, which one of the divisions are you most excited to turn around and see in action?
Well, I suppose we can give a little insight. Well, no, we know the divisions. I think all the fights are quality. But me being a former featherweight,
I knew you was going to say it. I knew he was going to say it.
The featherweight division is most appealing to me.
I can't turn around and allude into who's involved in the featherweight division, but there's been a few names, naturally looking at the stables of both and seeing obviously the quality that both fighters in terms of both stables have. There's a lot of names that they could turn around and put forward.
Yeah, there's a list of fighters. We know who the fighters are. I mean, this is difficult having this conversation because I don't want to give too much away, but for me, the featherweights, I think, is like all the 5 fights, really well matched, really competitive, hard to pick a winner. But just because it's one of my old divisions, that's the one I'm most excited about.
Are you impressed with the consistency? When I say consistency, I'm talking about the quality of the bills that we're getting on a regular basis. I feel like it was only yesterday we was in Day of Reckoning, Battle of the Baddest that's been already occurred. You've got this one and so many more that's turned around and talking. We haven't even spoken about the other Undisputed fight, the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, look, I'm a surprised. To be honest, when the Saudis are involved, no, I'm not. I mean, you know that the money they're pumping and throwing into boxing, to try and get the best to fight the best, and they're trying to make Saudi a destination for people to go and visit and tourism and everything else. Does it surprise me? No. I think that these guys will do whatever they can to make the best fight the best, and we're starting off with a cracker here.
The third member of our team will be joining us. Steve Bunce will be on the broadcast really soon. No doubt about it, you can imagine Steve Bunce is being busy and doing what he needs to do as always, interviews. But I'm going to ask you, and I'll ask Buncey as well afterwards, when you think about captains, knowing that the captain in this circumstance gets an extra point in terms of forgetting his victory, if you were Eddie Hearn, what division would you give the captaincy to?
Well, again, knowing who the fighters are without saying their name, I would give the captaincy to one of the heavyweights.
Oh, okay.
I don't know which heavyweight I would give it to, and I think the reason for it is because he's probably the most established fighter on that list.
So you're doing it in terms of established, you can handle the occasion rather than the
experience
opposite.
And everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you were sitting in Frank Warren's shoes right now, looking at that, would your factor be the same thing, or would you look at it for
a little
the best
bit differently?
mismatch?
I think there's a guy in the middleweight division that's in the Queensbury roster. Speaks very sensibly. As a very, very good fighter as well. Not a world champion yet, but at one point will be a world champion in my opinion. I would give it to him.
So what about the growth of Saudi Arabia? Let's talk about it, right? Everyone's talking about when they first made their explosion. Historically, we've seen it. New York, Vegas has been the home of boxing. Then, of course, Great Britain had their stance and what they're continuously doing. But what do you make of the sort of development of Saudi Arabia and what they consistently seem to be doing over there?
I mean, I don't think you can complain. Obviously, I mean, when you look at it, the atmospheres aren't close to what we can create in the UK at the minute, but I don't think there's many places in the world that can create an atmosphere like we can in the UK. But I mean, I would have loved to have been in my pump when the Saudis were involved in boxing to get a couple of fights out there, because this is a dangerous sport and fighters deserve to be paid well. They're not getting paid anywhere better. So I mean, I'm all for it, and I think that the fact that Turki Al-Sheikh is really a boxing fan, he's a knowledgeable boxing fan, he knows what he's talking about, he wants the best to fight the best.
I know usually you can expect to see Dev on this promotion. He's actually on stage right now doing a couple of rehearsals as we get ready for the press conference, which is only minutes away here live on the stream. But I want to ask you a couple of more questions, because there he is over your shoulder, you can see him looking.
Right, Bonsi, jump in.
He knows how to make an entrance.
Did you in the middle, Bonsi?
He knows how to make an entrance. And you know what, it's so perfect, because I wanted to start diving into the undisputed conversation. So obviously a man that needs no introduction in Steve Bunce. First of all, Buncey, how you feeling? How you feeling today? I know you've been busy behind the scenes getting a flavour for the fighters. We haven't revealed any names. Carl's done fantastic, by the way, in not saying anything.
It's really hard not to, but let's put it this way. I've had conversations with 9 of the 10 backstage, and they've been very entertaining, to say the very least. I did sit down with the other 2 guys, the unbeaten light heavyweight world champions, which I'm not going to lie, JD.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. Carl's my witness. Was a difficult head-to-head.
I can imagine.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
Of course.
I would never lie to you. It was hard work. But because here's the thing, and Carl heard it at the end, the Soviet bloc fighters, guys from any of the Soviet countries, they don't do schmack talk.
It's not really a cultural thing for them.
No, that's the exact word that they use.
It's not a cultural thing.
And they sort of looked at me and they literally put his hand on my shoulder and went, "No, we don't do that."
From the amateurs, they just really don't get involved.
It's not what they do.
So there's something nice about that.
I'm a big fan of it. Don't tell anybody. I'm a big fan of it. I like it when guys are nice to each other. Then hey, we saw. Okay, you were there. I know you came to it, and you probably watched it on TV. Dan Aziz, Joshua Buatsi.
Yeah.
A week after the fight, they were on holiday together in Ghana.
Yeah, they were.
They'd known each other for years. They'd been at weddings, christenings together. Okay, and suddenly they fight each other, and it doesn't get any aggro. And they get in that ring and they fight each other at Wembley. You were there, JD, to a standstill.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And they could barely walk.
Very much so. As someone from London as well, extremely proud of both of those gentlemen, what they've turned around and done. But let's stay in their division. Since you've alluded to it, let's stay in their division. And I don't want this to go underneath the radar for the magnitude of this fight, because I'm hearing some people talk about obviously the big Ring of Fire, which we're all going to be at, we're all going to enjoy.
We're going to
which
enjoy.
is going to be obviously the crown, the heavyweight champion. But there's something very special about an undisputed light heavyweight champion. Now, I want you to tell me from the Bivol angle first of all. Let's talk about Dimitry Bivol and what he brings to that spectacle and what he's looking to turn around and do.
Technically, he's very, very good in terms of his punch selection and everything he does, but his feet, I think, are his real strong asset. His feet are very, very good. I think he probably punches harder than he gets credit for as well, because typically someone who moves like Bivol,
observation. Yeah.
Someone who moves like Bivol, you know, what you want to do is close him down and get close and bully him, but people want to do that, but they can't do it because I think that he hits him hard from a distance. But Bivol technically is as gifted as they come. Great fighter.
And he's got gears, Carl. Like, you know, he can fight guys that go 12 rounds, and it can look like a competitive fight. But he's only played around in gear 1, and he's got this thing where he times his punches like all the good fighters can do, where it's not just a left hook, it's a left hook at this power, at this range, and he does that. And I'm not saying he's playing sometimes with opponents, but you half get that impression. He's so in control of what he does.
There's a few more gears.
Lots of them.
I think we definitely witnessed that, and this is all credit to Lyndon Arthur, but we were both obviously all present in terms of what we saw there, and it was a valiant effort. Love what Lyndon's done. Great relationship with Pat. Congratulations to Zelfa and all the rest of them. But you talk about those gears. You're talking about the gears and the levels between the division. These really are the two undisputed kings of this division. I want you to tell me now from the Beterbiev angle. We spoke about Bivol and what he brings. What does Beterbiev bring to this event?
Well, just like we said, Carl said there, this is like the reverse of what Carl said. Carl said that sometimes Bivol doesn't get credit for his power. Well, I don't think Beterbiev gets credit for his boxing skills.
Ring savvy,
and his ring savvy and his smarts and his fight, the way he can just general a fight. You know, if a Beterbiev was a football team, he's never ever surrendering a 1-0 lead in the last 10 minutes ever in history.
So it's Chelsea 04-05.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who the other team is. Because he's just so in control of what he does. And then he's got this added thing, this degree of power, which is not a comedy. You know, people who have fought him and they used to say the same thing about Golovkin. You know, you speak to people that have fought him, and they just talk about how everything hurts. You know, not just on the chin, Carl, everything.
There's footage of Beterbiev training online with a 20-kilo barbell.
Yeah.
And he's got it in one hand, and he's throwing it up like a band,
like it's
he's playing with a stick, and he's twisted. This guy he's a brute, an absolute brute.
Yeah.
But he's not just that. I think coming from the Russian amateur scene, they all know how to fight. They're all very, very clever fighters as well.
They are. I just want to allude to it behind us, over our shoulders, and I know you can't see it, but it does feel like that. The Crown Showdown, it does feel like we've waited a long time. And Bunty, I had to go and do the research this morning, and I recognize both of their journeys just to get to this stage, in terms of being crowned a world champion, having to deal with mandatories, deal with obligations, deal with things domestically within your own country.
Yes.
To get to this stage, both fighters must feel so elated naturally.
Well, they told me when I was talking to them that you know, it's been 4 or 5 years that it's been rumoured, 4 or 5 years that they've been talking about this fight, but maybe longer that they've wanted it. I got the impression from talking to them that Bivol's wanted it a lot longer than Beterbiev's wanted it, and I'm wondering if there was something in that little line he gave us, Bivol, about how when Bivol first went to the national team, Beterbiev, 6 years older, was the superstar.
Yeah.
Always in the semi-finals, always in the finals, always fighting the best in the world and giving and winning, losing, beating Usyk, losing to Usyk as an amateur. And I'm just wondering if little Bivol, who still looks like he's young now,
he does look like a baby
was
face,
looking up at this giant Beterbiev, balancing these 20-kilo dumbbells and thinking, one day, my son, one day. And maybe that day is going to be June the 1st.
I wanted to bring this question in, and I want it to be so respectful, because I'm not going to say it when Artur's here. I want that on the record too. But is age a factor at all? I'm just looking at the normal human being. When you're 38, 39, you start asking questions of your body. But
it could be
I've watched him this year.
Yeah, look, it could be a factor, but going off Beterbiev's last performance against Callum Smith, then it probably isn't. That was an unbelievable performance. Callum Smith maybe not the fighter that he once was, but certainly age is a factor for Callum Smith. But Beterbiev seems to me, although he's 38, is he?
39, I think.
39 now.
And still like in the prime of his life.
It's sensational. I don't understand. Him, LeBron James, they need to give the remedy as to what they do.
I don't know how LeBron James lives, but I know a little bit about the way Beterbiev lives. And he lives a really wholesome life.
Yeah.
So if he's got to go out and chop wood, he goes with an axe and comes back with the wood for the fire. If he's got to feed his family trout that night, he goes out with a hook and catches the trout, grows the vegetables. You know, fast food and Beterbiev have never been in the same city.
Love it.
In fact, we could make a load of sort of Chuck Norris style jokes about what exactly Beterbiev does, because I just think I think with him there might be a massive asterisk attached, and the age just might not be a factor. He might be one of those freak humans, Carl. Because you up close, you saw him a little bit. You were at 6 feet from him when I was talking to him. There's something about him, there's just the sort of power.
Aura.
And the aura, yeah. And I just got a feeling he might just be one of those natural freaks that can do anything, and he'll do it for a lot. That's my gut feeling.
I think you might be right. You know, Bunsey, just looking at his face, he's clearly a serious man as well. Like very, very serious. And the guy who you see around when he has to do important stuff, he's like deadpan, like literally put the frighteners up anybody.
Yeah.
But off camera he's a nice guy, and he's really nice and actually quite pleasant. But that whole demeanour around boxing and boxing events, he's a scary man.
You know when he fought in the yard?
Yes.
I was in a position, I was working TNT. I don't know if you were with us. I don't know if you were with us that
Hadn't
night.
made the transfer as of
No,
yet.
exactly. But you were on the bench somewhere. But so I was ringside, and it was a proper ringside. So we're actually on the canvas, and I remember he was over here, and there was several points in that fight where I was no more than I don't know, 7, 8, 9 feet away from Beterbiev's eyes and face. And it made me take a deep breath, just being that close to a man, hitting somebody else, but in my presence. There was something about it. Now, I'm not saying I've never experienced that before, but it was a massive feeling. It was not unique. I felt it a few times with fighters, but I really sensed it. And that was, whether it was aura, whether it was power, whether it was ferocity, or whether it was just the sense that what you're dealing with here is just someone that's very special, Carl.
No,
very special.
Absolutely agree. I mean, he's one of my favourite fighters to watch, just on how he goes about his business and how he fights. He's not afraid to get hit, and that's why we've seen him on his backside a number of times. But he gets back up and he wins. He fights through adversity, massive cuts. I mean, he's a quality fighter.
He's got it all, and we're about to find out from Dev Sani as he introduces what is going to be one of the biggest bills known, the undisputed light heavyweight contest between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitry Bivol. Strap yourselves in. Isn't that always the way? We've got technical problems. Dev Sani, I'm sure, will be, as you know, he's the voice of boxing, as he turn around and tell you himself. But look, since we've got a couple more minutes, I always say let's feel, right? And we turn around and enjoy this moment as the fighters are getting back. You two have both been backstage. I haven't had the opportunity yet to turn around and get an aura or energy from them. What did you kind of sense in terms of from Beterbiev, first of all?
Fearsome, like literally really scary man. Bivol a bit more relaxed, and
he does sense that usually. Though Bivol is usually a bit more cool,
yeah,
a bit more
I think
calm.
a bit more coy, a bit more. That's exactly how I would describe it. But there was just, I don't know, there was something a bit ferocious about Beterbiev. He just seems like a.
I agree with you completely, except that, do you see when Bivol jumped on me? When I said that line about Eastern Bloc fighters, he jumped down my throat, Jade. He jumped down my throat, brother.
I'm telling you, let's talk about Dev Sani. He's about to jump down our throats as well. So let's hand over to him now as we go round 2 for the remix between Beterbiev and Bivol.
This stage, whenever the media gathers in this room, we know that something big is about to happen. It's another groundbreaking, monumental press conference. Now, Riyadh has really become the home of big-time boxing. Let's go back to October, the battle of the baddest. Fury versus Ngannou, the lineal king of heavyweight boxing against the lineal king of heavyweight MMA. We then moved on to the day of reckoning, December 23rd. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and a star-studded undercard. What about knockout chaos? Just last month, Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou, a knockout that we'll never forget, all happened in Riyadh. May 18th is another one for your diary, as if you don't already know. The first undisputed heavyweight champion of the century will be crowned as part of Riyadh's season. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk will finally meet in a ring of fire with absolutely everything on the line. Well, today we're here to announce the latest and perhaps the greatest in all of these shows so far. We'll be back in Riyadh on June the 1st. Now, as part of Riyadh's season, this is a sporting rivalry that has gone on for years and years and years. It's one of the fiercest, most intense, most bitter rivalries out there. UK boxing promoters Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn will each pit 5 of their very best fighters against each other. It will be Queensberry versus Matchroom. There will be pride on the line. There will be glory on the line. And there will be an awful lot of bragging rights on the line. Over 30 years of rivalry will spill over into the ring. And stick with us because we'll be announcing and unveiling those fighters very, very shortly. It's a Riyadh season original. Now, the main event on June the 1st, it's about as good as it gets right now in boxing. If you're a fight fan watching this stream, if you're a member of the media in this room, this is on your list of dream fights. The dream becomes a reality. June the 1st, 2 pound-for-pound ranked fighters, 2 of the best fighters in the whole world will collide and decide who the unified and undisputed light heavyweight king really is. On one side, you've got unbeaten WBA, IBO World Light Heavyweight Champion Dimitry Bivol, perhaps the best pure boxer in the world right now. And he takes on the unified WBO, IBF, WBC and lineal World Light Heavyweight Champion, perhaps the most destructive puncher in boxing, in Artur Beterbiev. It is quite simply the best versus the best. Now, this event is brought to you to fans worldwide by Frank Warren on behalf of Queensberry Promotions and Bob Arum for Top Rank Incorporated and Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing in conjunction with Riyadh Season, National Events Centre, the General Entertainment Authority, Gold Star Promotions and Seller. Okay, let's bring onto the stage some of the key players involved in this historic bout on June the 1st. Let's first welcome to the stage the long-standing manager of WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion Dimitry Bivol, representing World of Boxing Promotions. Please welcome Vadim Kornilov. Okay, that's Vadim Kornilov with that glorious WBA World Light Heavyweight Championship. Now let's welcome to the stage the president of Top Rank Incorporated and representing the unified World Light Heavyweight Champion Artur Beterbiev. Please welcome Todd DeBoeuf. Okay, now let's welcome to the stage, representing Queensberry Promotions, Hall of Fame boxing promoter, Frank Warren. Okay, it's now time to welcome to the stage the long-standing promoter of WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion Dimitry Bivol, representing Matchroom Boxing. Please welcome Eddie Hearn. Okay, let's get the fighters onto the stage. Let's first welcome one of the supreme technicians in boxing today. One of the best pure boxers out there. He is unbeaten in 22 fights. He is the long-reigning WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion and IBO Light Heavyweight Champion. Please welcome Dimitry Bivol. Okay, now let's welcome to the stage a champion who has knocked out every man that he has faced. Unbeaten with a perfect record of 20 fights, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. He's the reigning unified WBC, WBO and IBF World Light Heavyweight Champion. Please welcome Artur Beterbiev. Okay, so everyone's up here. Before we begin speaking to the top table, I'd like to take a moment to thank those involved in making these groundbreaking events possible. And what a privilege it is to be working again on such a historic fight card as part of Riyadh Season. Firstly, we'd like to express our heartfelt thanks to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz. And to His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And of course, His Excellency, Chairman of GIA, Turki Al-Sheikh. And a huge thanks to all of the teams of Gia, Riyadh Season and Sella as we continue to work together to deliver historic events in the Kingdom. Okay, let's talk to the table. I'm going to begin with Hall of Fame boxing promoter here, Frank Warren. A tremendous fight. This is undisputed. Just 2 weeks after we crown an undisputed heavyweight champion, we get one in the light heavyweight division. Tell us about this fight.
We do, but just before that, I'd also, on behalf of all us here, like to thank King Salman and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and also the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, His Excellency, Turki Al-Ashik, and thank you so much for making all this happen. Boxing is so grateful for you, all the effort that's been put in to making these magnificent fights and occasions happen. Very grateful. So we've got a big fight. We've got 4 belts on the line. Very rarely does this happen. We got one, obviously, a few weeks before with a heavyweight division. Then we're in the light heavyweight division with 2 superb fighters, both undefeated. I think they're both 20 wins each. So somebody's O will go, as they say. And me as a fight fan and a bit of a neutral as far as the 2 guys are concerned, I can't wait to see it. This is something extra special. And again, take our hats off to Top Rank and to Matchroom, who worked very hard to make this happen. It's brilliant.
Now, you've seen both of these guys last year. Artur Beterbiev at the very start of the year, Dimitry Bivol towards the end. Look, I don't want to push you towards a pick, but have you got any pick? And bear in mind who sat next to you.
Well, he beat my man, didn't you? He beat Anthony in I think his toughest fight to date. It was a tough fight. It was an excellent and exciting fight, and he done it in style. And over the other side of the table is another Brit basher who's done a few of our guys. So this is such a good fight. I mean, fights like this come along very, very rarely. Two undefeated fighters. As I say, we got one a couple of weeks before, a bit like buses, but very rarely does this happen. And quality fighters, top guys. And who would I lean towards? I've got to lean towards Artur because I think in fighting Anthony, he showed to me what a good fighter he was. Anthony, I've got a lot of regard for him as a fighter, and he done brilliantly against him.
Okay, thank you, Frank Warren. Let's bring in Vadim Kornilov from the Bivol team. Vadim, you've just heard Frank Warren refer to Dimitri there as the Brit basher. He's got a tall task in front of him, though, in Artur Beterbiev. Tell us your thoughts heading into Undisputed.
Thank you for everything, and thank you for this fight to be happening finally. One thing I can say is that this is a fight that we've been waiting for a long time. Probably for the last 2 years, Dimitri has been asking for the undisputed fight. And finally, there's somebody that came through and came together, brought everybody together and made this happen. And I just want to say that we appreciate the opportunity and everybody who's taking part in this, and the great athletic fan in His Excellency, Mr. Turki, who's making this a possibility for everybody.
And why does your man win?
Because boxing is more about class, IQ, style, and skills, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's hear from the Beterbiev side. Let's bring in Todd DeBoeuf. You've just heard the case there from Vadim Kornilov. A big moment for Artur and Top Rank here. Give us your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think I've always been a fan of destruction, and this guy is destruction, and Frank is dead on right. Artur has just... Every time you turn on the television, my phone would ring and friends from all over the world would call me and say, who is this monster? And I think he gets better with each fight. I think he adjusted after the Yard fight where we saw he got hit a couple times and then came in for the next fight against Smith and adjusted. And the truth is, it's a really credit to the athlete. It's a credit to the Riyadh Season, Sella, His Excellency, listening to what the people are saying. We want to see something, help us make this happen. And We're helping the two fighters at the top of their skill set in a great weight class and a great contrast to style. So I think we're in for a special night.
And why does Artur Beterbiev become undisputed June 1st?
Because you look at his body of work, nobody lasts 12 rounds. That's why. I don't have to say anything.
That's a pretty conclusive argument, but I'm sure there's a man who will have something to say about that. Mr. Eddie Hearn, you've long championed Dimitry Bivol. He's talked about wanting to be undisputed, but this is a man you know very, very well. A tall task. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Dev. Thanks, everybody, for attending today. Just before we go into this fight, just want to pass our regards on to the family of Willie Limond, who unfortunately lost his life earlier today. A great ambassador for the sport of boxing. Rest in peace, Willie Limond, and God bless your family. We're here again, Dev. This is quite remarkable, really. Of course, thank you to His Crown Prince and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. You did it again. To have two undisputed fights within 2 weeks of each other is quite remarkable. I mean, the undisputed heavyweight world championship has been something that's avoided us for a long time. You made that happen. Now you make, in my opinion, the best fight in boxing in Dimitry Bivol against Artur Beterbiev. I think it's just one of the purest matchups in the sport. And to see that headline, the top of a card on June 1st with the 5v5, 6 of the purest 50-50 matchups you could see in boxing. So congratulations to everybody. This is a real incredible moment for the sport. And I didn't see this fight happening without an intervention from somebody. And as I said, His Excellency made it happen. These are two tremendous fighters, two world champions. In every division, we should look to find an undisputed champion. It tells you who the very best is. And Frank's right, you know, Artur Beterbiev has, of course, beaten Anthony Yard. He beat Callum Johnson, who we put in with him many years ago. Callum did drop him. He beat Callum Smith as well. And Dimitry Bivol beat Craig Richards and beat Lyndon Arthur as well. And I just feel that this man to my left, as Vadim says, his boxing IQ is on another level. And it needs to be against, as Todd said, you know, one of the most dangerous men in the sport of boxing. Artur Beterbiev is a wrecking machine. But this guy, I believe, is pound for pound the top fighter potentially in the sport. And when he beat Canelo Alvarez, who was the clear pound for pound #1 in the sport, I don't think he actually got the credit that he deserved. And he did that with consummate ease. And as tough as this fight is, don't be amazed to see him make this look easy on June the 1st. I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight, but he has all the ability to stand that man on his head whilst he's trying to hunt him down. But whilst he's doing it, he's going to be very, very dangerous. And I believe on June the 1st, Dimitry Bivol will be the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world.
Just one more on that, Eddie. Obviously, you were talking about Callum Smith. He's going to knock him out with a left hook. Heard you about Callum Johnson in the past as well. What is it that is so different about Dimitry Bivol that makes you think he's going to stop this man?
Ability, footwork, ring IQ, composure. You know, all of the things you need. If you don't have the ability to box and move, to stand and trade at times, to have a great chin, to have the engine, Artur's going to run through you. And it's going to take someone very, very special to beat him. Thankfully, we got someone very, very special. His name is Dimitry Bivol, and he's built for this moment. For 5 or 6 years, we've been working together with Vadim. Vadim has told me from the very, very start, we need the Beterbiev fight. That is the fight that will show us and show the world how great Dimitry Bivol is. Really, he's already achieved greatness. He beat the pound for pound #1. But the naysayers will say, yeah, but it was a 168 coming up to 175. Whatever. Now there will be no arguments that the victor on June the 1st is the king of the division. And that's what we want in the sport of boxing. And I can't wait. I can't wait to, you know, I mean, it's going to be one of the great nights for Dimitry, for Vadim, and for me personally, because after we've spanked Frankie Boy 5-0 in the 5v5, we're going to run off with the undisputed championship. And it's going to be so sweet, because I look at Todd down there, he don't really like me either. So I can't wait. Roll on June the 1st, Riyadh, another historic night. Jeez.
Thank you, Eddie. That was all for no context, Stern. I know that was. Let's bring in a man who most definitely does like you, Dimitry Bivol, WBA light heavyweight champion. I've heard you talk about how this is your dream fight. Even when people were asking you about fighting Canelo again, you were saying, I want undisputed. Now it's so close. Tell us how you're feeling heading into this.
Hello, everybody. I want to say thank you to Beterbiev team, to my promoter, World of Boxing, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, everybody, and of course to His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh and Riyadh and Saudi, because they are making a great fight for not only for me, for boxing fans, because everybody who loves boxing, they ask me, when you gonna fight Beterbiev? Who's gonna make this fight? And Saudi Arabia, they will make this fight. And thank you for this. Of course, I'm happy because when I signed the contract to be a pro boxer, I had a goal to be an undisputed champion. And everything what I went through, it was to my goal. I made it to get my goal. Even the fight against Canelo, which Eddie mentioned, it was my ticket for big fights. And now I'm happy that I will have fight on June 1st for all of belts.
When you look across, down the table, at Artur Beterbiev, 20 fights, 20 wins, 20 knockouts, do you see the most dangerous challenge of your career?
Every time when I'm on my training camp, I think my opponent is the dangerous opponent in the world. These thoughts help me to be in focus, to be serious in my training camp. And of course, he's one of the dangerous opponents. Even if we see on his records, even if he see on his fights, he's powerful, and it makes me more excited to fight against this guy, because I love challenges. I love to be tested, and this fight, the huge test for me also.
Well, he's knocked out everyone so far. Tell us why you're different.
Every person is different, not only me. I have good skills. I just believe in my skills. I'm in boxing 20 years old, 28 years I'm in boxing. I'm in boxing since I remember myself. I love the sport, and I think it could help me, my experience and my mentality and my skills, my camp. I just believe that I could be undisputed.
Okay, well, let's bring in Artur Beterbiev. You have been also dreaming about becoming undisputed, getting that fourth belt. It's just there, that fourth belt. How do you feel looking across, seeing it? Tell us what's on your mind.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Not first time. Thank you for everyone who make this fight, for His Excellence, for Top Rank, for Frank Warren, for his team. What you ask me? Can you?
I mean, you can see the belt there, the belt that you've wanted for so long, Artur. Since 2017, you wanted to keep collecting the belts. How do you feel seeing it there and going into this fight?
I see another belt.
And what about Dimitry Bivol? Thank you, Artur, terrorizing me. Do you just see just another opponent? I mean, this is an unbeaten champion.
Like you say, I'm collecting belts and I need one more.
You've both been world champions since 2017. In your opinion, why has it taken so long for this fight to happen?
I don't know. He knows better. Ask him.
Dimitry, why has it taken so long for this fight to happen?
To be realistic, yeah, you ask him, he doesn't speak, I will say from him. Of course, we know boxing how it's happening, and all fighters was with the belt with the top rank. I asked my team a lot of times. I wanted this fight, and I got answer only that it's not. There is no person who will make this fight.
His Excellency wasn't doing boxing.
Yeah, and now we have His Excellency who loves boxing so much, and who said that I want this fight, and this fight happened.
Well, this fight is certainly happening June 1st. Artur, is this the biggest challenge so far?
We'll see.
What's your hunch? What do you think?
Well, I'm not thinking. I'm preparing. I will prepare for this fight. Try to be ready for 100%.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just wonder, do you have a message for Dimitry Bivol now that he's here?
He know already.
Dimitry, Artur Beterbiev says that you know already. What is it that you know?
I don't know already.
We know. I tell you, no. For sure.
Okay, so somebody knows something. What I do know is that there is an additional belt on the line here. There will be an undisputed new belt on the line, which should, there you go, the magic of television, it is up there behind us. And the fighters will face off very, very shortly in the front of the stage with that behind us. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back very shortly for the 5 versus 5 unveiling. Dimitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev, undisputed, coming up June 1st, your main event. Stick with us.
Yeah, very few words. I will say that, Carl.
Yeah.
I think we kind of expected it. Bunty alluded to it in terms of the high levels of tension between both fighters. I think when you think respectively about their journeys and how long it's taken them both to get to this stage, I think it's a bit understandable. I mean, traveling out of their countries, coming in the middle of probably what be camp and all the rest of it, to come and do a press conference, which neither fighter is probably, let's say, the most articulate in terms of English, respectively.
And they both said to me, JD, and Carl heard them, they both said in their heavy Eastern European accents, this I don't like. Fighting I like. I don't like this. I don't like this. I know I have to do it, but I don't like it.
I think that was evident.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. So it's not a big problem. You know that's the case.
I like that about them, though. They don't have to talk. We all know as boxing fans what a fight this is, and history in the making, and all of that, all them sort of catchphrases and lines. But these guys, they don't need to talk. They really don't need to talk, and we know it's going to be an absolute war, bloodbath, potentially. Going to be fighters up and down.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a great fight.
But the best part about spending so much time with fighters, and Bunty, you'll probably understand this as well, decades, is they tell me sometimes don't look into these things in terms of the face-offs and the pictures. There's nothing to read into it. That's all for comments and Instagram and Twitter and all the rest of it.
That's for the show. What you need is that moment backstage when they're queuing up to come on. This is the privileged position that we're in.
Facts.
In our position. And it's just that little moment backstage when for a second, for the first time, they're actually shoulder to shoulder. But they can't acknowledge each other, and they're standing, looking at the door they're going to go through. And you know what's in their mind? They're going, who's going through that door first? That's psychology one. That's round one. And they're both standing and they're half talking to the people behind them, but they're not acknowledging them. That's what we saw back there. When I was a bit late coming here, as you know. I wasn't backstage having a cigar. I was backstage working.
As always. I alluded to that on the broadcast. All right, Bunty, I've got your back.
And I saw the two of them standing not 3 feet apart. And you look at that. There's the tension, JD.
Yeah.
Not some nice shoot off. That bit of tension, and it was crackling.
I'm actually surprised a little bit by the relatively similar in height. I thought Bivol was maybe a
lot taller,
a couple of inches taller on him anyway.
Yeah.
But they look to be similar heights. I think maybe that's just down to how the fight. Bivol fights like he's a tall fighter, uses levers really well, and Beterbiev likes to come forward and be very, very destructive.
Very aggressive in terms of what you're expecting from him. I want to know, in terms of the few words that we did get from them, let's try and see if we can unpack some parts of that press conference. Let's talk about Dimitry Bivol first, because he looks like he could be one that might be joining us really shortly. He was probably the more vocal of the two, I would say, honestly.
Yeah.
Probably more comfortable in terms of the microphone in front of him. What did you kind of read in terms of the comments that he said in terms of his joining?
Again, not a lot into it. Both guys seem really confident in themselves. I think that Bivol was probably slightly annoyed by the comment that Beterbiev made, where he says, "Ask him why the fight hasn't happened until now."
I did see that.
He kind of kicked back a little bit, but again, I always just think that there's always people like to be kind of part-time psychologists when they're trying to read fighters' body language and head-to-head, especially this far out. Maybe a little bit closer to the fight, but at this stage, I think both guys are just really confident that they both can win the fight.
And Bivol definitely has much better English than Beterbiev
Yeah.
by some considerable distance. So, for instance, if you're chatting, like I'll say something to Carl, like off the record, and then I'll say something to Bivol really quick, and he say, "Yes, I heard earlier. Don't worry." So he can hear things.
Yeah.
Whereas Beterbiev, you've got to try and find a bit of not necessarily eye contact, but you want to have him in your vision when you're talking to him. That's the way I looked at it. Whereas Bivol is, it's quiet in here, so you've got to talk. In my opinion, you've got to get quite loud.
Hey, Todd.
Anyway you like, Todd.
Good to see you.
No, anywhere you like.
No,
of course you're live, brother.
Of course you're by the way.
always like.
However we do it.
As always, some people
more
need
time.
no introductions and some people need even further less introductions in terms of thank you so much Todd and Artur as well for joining us. Artur, don't worry about it, man, it's just a couple of cameras, yeah? I see you smiling, I see you enjoying it.
He's not worried.
Thank you so much first of all for joining us on the broadcast. Just tell me in terms of your thoughts, all of this, your journey so far, 2017 you picked up your first title and now where you are now, how are you feeling knowing that you're only one belt away from Utopia?
I'm good, not bad. It's very good, big show.
Big show.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about all of it in terms of just the media, the access? Look at the people over my shoulder. This is all for you.
I'm a bit shy now. I mean, it's not my area, My area is ring. I'm more comfortable in the ring.
Artur, does it make it better for you to fight for the undisputed title against a fellow countryman? Does that make it a little bit more special?
Of course, but I think it's when I already had in my experience unified fight. I mean, it's almost the same. I think.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's not like when you get a belt, first belt or.
No, I get it.
Artur, this is the first and only time I'm going to turn around and give you any instructions. Just bring the microphone a little bit closer because the fans at home want to make sure they hear. And this is the perfect time to bring yourself in. Just looking at his journey, I saw how proud you were up there. Just thinking about how far he's come and everything that he's achieved. But how excited are you knowing that he's probably only one step away from what was a goal for him a long time ago?
One of the things is I remember going to Canada and signing Artur. The first time I met him, his English wasn't so good. Very stoic face. So like he said, this isn't good for him, right? And we walked away from the meeting as a lawyer called us up and he said, he was so happy. I'm like, oh my
Really?
God. That's happy? I'd hate to see when he's upset, right?
See, look, he knows. He knows now. He's laughing now. Look.
His English has gotten better, but I think the one thing he's done is he's connected to the global boxing community because of his destructive nature, right? He has a style, and he's getting better with every fight, right? He's learning, picking up something a little different from every fight. I think what we saw in the adjustment from the Yard fight to the Smith fight, narrowing the gap, putting the pressure on, staying in the pocket, moving a little bit, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And I think anybody that fights this man knows it's a destructive night.
So would you say then, and would you agree with Todd, that at 38 years old, 39,
39.
are you
39.
still an improving fighter at 39?
Yes, I believe.
I want to ask
I'm
you another
always
one, yeah.
looking for something to fix it or make better my skills, my boxing skills,
I mean, if you just look at the two fights, it's
Incredible.
so clear.
Yeah.
It's so clear how he was and
Changed and improved.
The distance. He stood in the pocket. He wasn't at the and Smith had a much longer reach, right?
Yeah.
And he put the pressure on, and you just saw it. My whole office, we were sitting there going, "Oh my,
Wow.
He learned that quick," and that's just. This is what he does as a baby. It's in his DNA.
How are you getting better? I really want to know this. At 39 years old, a lot of your peers that you would have grown up with have probably got their slippers on at this moment. How are you getting better so late in your career?
I don't know. It's because of luck.
No, it's not luck.
Healthy
There's
living.
something that you're living the life. It looks like you're living the life and you're enjoying
Look how
it.
much better Steve is, right? Look how much he's getting better every day.
Steve-
right?
Steve Bunce is a
I'm
living legend.
56. I'm getting better
Every decade.
Bunty, you had the opportunity to turn around and be around this man backstage. And what did you kind of sense in terms of how powerful he is and everything that he's turned around and
What I
achieved so
sensed
far?
was I seen, in my opinion, almost like two Arthurs, a very serious one, and then a light-hearted Arthur who gave me a lot of stick upstairs, gave me a man that can smile. But what I really sensed was what we've seen from in the ring and the training footage. A man who is devoted and dedicated to his business, and his business is boxing. Simple as that.
I have to ask you now. You were saying that he knew why it took so long. What did you mean when you said that?
I know.
You're gonna make a meme out of this. This is gonna be a meme on its own.
I can tell you because it's between us.
He just knows.
You know, I already tell him. You know.
But he knows, right?
Yeah, of course. You know.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm telling you, he does know. Carl, what have you seen so far? I mean, he sings your praises in terms of both being world champions, both understanding what it's like to compete at the highest level. When you look at his presence and what he's achieved and who he is as a person now, what's your thoughts as fighter to fighter?
An incredible journey. I remember watching Artur as an amateur when I was a young amateur, like watching the Russian team who were outstanding and winning gold medals all over the world. So I've been a fan of him before he turned professional. I knew a lot about him before he turned professional. So to watch this kind of meteoric rise, 20 wins, 20 knockouts, undisputed, unified, and trying now for the next fight to become undisputed and say 21 fights, absolutely be incredible.
Well, and I think one of the things that you're saying is so true. We can talk about the credibilities, the belts, and all that stuff, but this is must-see TV.
Incredible.
Right? This is almost like
Every fight.
It's like the Mike Tyson era, right?
It is.
When you see somebody, it's not the cutesy, it's not the fancy, it's not the pull counters, it's not the beauty of the sweet science. It's destruction, and there's something so crude and beautiful about that, and that's here.
I saw you on YouTube training with a barbell.
Bar.
Never seen. Have you seen this? He's throwing a barbell.
Toss it up in the air.
Like
The barbell didn't go 12 rounds either.
No, it was unbelievable.
How many rounds did the barbell
I don't know. He just held on to it. He couldn't let it go.
Artur, I just want to know from you, do you have any final words? Do you have anything you want to say? Because you've come here before, you understand in terms of what it's like to fight on the biggest stage. You've done it all. Amateurs, now professional, one step away from your final destination.
Now I hope London, from England, fans of boxing on my side, because I'm fighting not for England fighter. You know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
See, he's
I like
learning.
it. Clever.
He's learning.
He's
Clever.
learning. His smile. Look at him.
Marking. Artur, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure. Steve Bunce.
Thanks, Sean.
Pleasure, brother. Thank you.
The presence is always there. Todd, also
Todd,
thank you so
also
much for joining us on the
Always good.
broadcast.
Thanks,
man.
Todd.
Appreciate you.
everything.
Thank you
We
very much
just
indeed.
place the microphones there.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Different level. I know what you mean now,
Different
Bunsey.
league.
Aura.
Yeah.
I feel it.
But he knows, like he knew what Todd was saying. He was laughing. He was joking.
Look at the attention. Look at this media circle. We're
I'm
in the middle of a live
I'm not
broadcast.
saying he was
Can you
playing with
imagine?
us, but he was nearly playing with us. Let's get that right.
I know exactly what
he
you
knew
mean.
what he was doing.
Someone want to get the YouTubers off my back here, Bunsey. Give him a slap. Will you?
We're supposed to have security here, aren't we? You got to appreciate it, but that will tell you about the fanfare. That will kind of explain to you everything that is here, because it's not just
Here we go.
the media in terms of in London. It's not your normal standard.
Send in
typical
everyone,
event.
send in everyone.
It's everything, and this is what Undisputed is about. It's going to attract the audience, it's going to attract the casuals, and it's going to attract the wider audience. The only thing that I'm fearing now is we've got to somehow get Dimitry Bivol on this
This
broadcast
guy's
in the
going
middle.
on.
Yeah, we'll get him.
He's trying his hardest.
Come
He's
on,
trying
mate,
his
need
hardest.
a move. Thank you.
Don't get on the bad side of the jackal, yeah? Look, with all the media fanfare behind us, let's just concentrate on what we saw up there as well. You spoke about it, just how he is, what he is, who he is. It seems like it's on the tin. That's what I kind of gathered from him. He doesn't want to say many words. Doesn't want to force himself outside of a comfort zone.
You see a really nice side to him when he's here and he's doing them interviews and he's smiling a little bit and he's understanding the English. But honestly, it's different when he's anything in close proximity of Bivol, and it's not a front or,
it's
or
not.
an act. He just gets really, really serious, and
The
it's
whole-
almost like two different men, isn't it?
When I sat them down, and the cameramen, who I love cameramen, but they don't understand.
Clearly.
The cameramen decided that they wanted their two fighters to put their elbows on a table. So when their elbows were on the table, their heads were closer than this.
Yeah.
Carl went, I could never do that. They were no more than about 12 inches apart. And I'm behind them, squeezed behind, shrinking. And I'm telling you, that tension there was incredible. So all that smiling there, and Bivol will come over, and he's a gentleman, and he's good English. Forget all that. I've seen it in that room, 5 or 6 of us. Carl was a witness to it. JD, I'm telling you, brother, if you'd have been in there, you would have felt it. It was real.
What I noticed as well, every time that Bivol was speaking, like he kind of looked away a few times, but when Bivol spoke, he kind of glared right through him, like right at him. It was like Very, very intimidating.
Back of his head glare,
intimidating for me, maybe not for Bivol, but I was certainly intimidated.
You know what, you're talking about it there, but are these all mind games? Are they all mental things, or is it just preparation for him? Is it more for him, or is it more to send a message to Dimitry?
My gut feeling is they both know each other from the old Soviet system. They were in the same national teams together, that their minds are so strong. I think it's just what they do. So there's no slapping or throwing of tables or he said, she said. There's none of that toing and throwing. It's just a silence, and it's just a meaningful look, and it's just, this is my space, I'm me, that's your space, you're you, and we'll find out on June the 1st when the first bell sounds. Now, there's no bravado. Let's put it this way, JD, I don't think there's any intentional mind games. It's just the way they are. It's just the way they are.
Do you think it could be, obviously, Beterbiev was the number one fighter and kind of the Russian setup when Bivol was breaking into the Russian scene, and maybe he was 3 or 4 place Russian, which is a very good fighter if you're 3rd or 4th Russian. But does Beterbiev maybe still have that attitude, like, I'm the top dog?
Of course he does.
You know what I mean?
Cole, you heard that line when Bivol said, I remember many times looking at him when I was first in the squad. I was younger and he was a star, and I looked at him. So then I turned to Beterbiev, and so I asked the same question. And he went, I said, do you remember Dimitri when he first joined the squad? And he went, no. Done him like a kipper. I believe that is, JD.
I love it because they're all the mind games, the sort of mental messages that they're sending to one another. The mental messages they're sending to one another. This is where I can lean on both of you two, because you live and breathe this sport. I don't even call it a sport to you, it's both a lifestyle for both of you. What do they mean up there? What were they alluding to? When he turned around and said, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I'm just leaning to see if you know any insights.
Well, they admitted they sparred, and Beterbiev said, ask his coach. Right. So something happened. Now, I'm not a person that likes to live and draw on memories that I didn't see in sparring. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of people talking about sparring, but clearly something happened. And it may be that just Beterbiev was the daddy of a squad. And JD, you've been around GB, you've been up to GB squad. You said if you're the daddy, you're the daddy. I mean, there's 37 other fighters there that are going to tournaments and maybe winning medals. But if you're the daddy, you're the daddy. Boss, so Pat McCormack, the great welterweight, he was the daddy. Even when AJ was in the squad, he was still the daddy. Of course. And it means something. Cole, you're in the heart of the system. You understand it better than anybody.
And going back to the amateur system, the daddy in the amateur system when I was there in Ireland was Kenny Egan, who you know very, very well.
He's still the king of Ireland now.
Yeah, definitely still the daddy.
Yeah, there's something about that. They want to kind of, just be the boss. But both guys are banned for that now. I think that Bivol, he's maybe looking at it. Well, hold on. I've got that the wrong way around. I've got one of these belts. One of them's got 3. But Bivol's now saying, like, I'm the boss now. Like, you're not the boss. You're coming to the end of your career. Although he says he's still improving as a fighter. Bivol want to kind of establish some sort of authority here as well.
Yeah.
Since we're here, and since obviously you know, as you can see behind us, the background is about to change. The media seems to have cleared out a little bit because it's now for the second half. Probably a little bit more of the, let's say, the casual interest, but definitely one that's still going to have the purist at heart. The 5 versus 5. Now, I know we're not allowed to reveal it because we're only moments away in terms of who the fighters are, and they will be unveiled, but just give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts in terms of the tension you're seeing between Frank and Eddie. And I asked Carl earlier, did you ever think you would see this day?
Never. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, I knew it would get together. I am telling you, I tried in 2011 to get them together. I tried in 2012 to get them together. I tried in 2013 to get them together. Boy, oh boy.
When you haven't got the same money as Turkey and Chico.
There's no need for that. It's as simple as that. His wallet's bigger. But when they got together last year, when there were rumours of them getting together, I thought it would be cosmetic. But I've seen enough. I thought it would just be a charade. But I've seen enough at press conferences. I've seen enough in Saudi Arabia when I've been around them probably 20 days in the last few months. That, guess what? I think it's real.
Yeah, it is real.
In fact, I know it's real. It's quite staggering. And I never thought I would see it in answer to your question.
They're smart men. Both of them are smart guys, and they understand business, and they understand that they maybe put pride to one side, and this makes great business sense, not only for them and their promotional outfits, but also the fighters that they're looking after. I think it's a win-win all round.
Yeah,
This is
it's a
exactly
win-win.
what we wanted to see. You think about the decades that have gone in, because it's deeper than Frank and Eddie. It goes as far as the older generation too, and Eddie's father too. So I think when you bring a full circle moment, we should be smiling. We should be happy that we got two of the best promoters in the world that are sitting down and saying that they want to work together and put on something like this.
And they're putting on. I mean, this would be like the third show together. Yeah, third show, really the fourth show together. And they've got 10 or 15 more planned, because that's the way Turki Al-Sheikh seems to work, is that he's give them dates, he throws up literally 20 fights up in the air, and they've got to package them. And I know that because I spoke to both Frank and Eddie when we were in Saudi last for Ngannou, and I spoke to Ngannou and AJ, and I spoke to them in the morning. They'd just come back from Turki Al-Sheikh's house. They're there till 5:30 in the morning, and they both said the same thing to me. Look, I can't tell you what fights there are. He said, but we got over 20 fights that we're going to make this year. And the thing is, it's not like me and Carl sitting around doing fantasy fights in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
These are going to happen.
Yeah.
So if there's 20 fights in the air landing, well, maybe getting 5 of them today, for all I know. But we'll get these 20 fights because, well, it seems at the moment there's no barriers to anything, JD.
It just seems like we were having a conversation backstage. This is what we can give you preview, because when we're sometimes sitting in the changing rooms, we look at some of the rosters that they have and we say, well, when's their activity coming? Where are they going to get busy? Where are these fighters that are sitting on both Matchroom and Queensberry respectively going to get fights? It feels like this could be a massive springboard for a lot of those fighters that are inactive.
Well, I think they'll get the chance.
Yeah, no, there's an opportunity. Look, to be honest, with the money that the fighters are being paid to go to Saudi, everybody will want to go there, so they all can't do it. So there's got to be shows back in the UK as well that Eddie
Yeah, of course.
and Frank are putting on, and also Eddie has a platform in America as well with the Zone. So I think that people will want the Saudi bills. Some people are going to be disappointed when they don't get picked for a Saudi bill and someone else is getting selected in front of them, but this is just the way it is.